Welcome, Virgo Rising, Sun or Moon. Please listen to your rising sign first, as this will give you the most accurate placement in the forecast. Now let's have a look at Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008 in your 5th house and will be here until the year 2023. Now with Pluto traveling through the 5th house, it will usually break this area down first and then start building it up again. But this transit can be experienced uniquely for everyone, obviously, especially in connection with their own natal placements. But with Pluto here, there is a chance that if you are in an emotionally committed relationship, like maybe you're married or you're in a very long-term relationship, that this relationship could be going through a very intense period, or throughout that time period that Pluto's been in this house, you may have experienced quite intense power struggles, or degrading situations in a relationship, or toxic type of situations, abuse of power or abuse period, or controlling, obsessive type of behaviors in love affairs and or long-term relationships. But usually if this is a committed relationship, it can undergo a complete transformation during this period. This is a long transit since 2008, but it'll reach a boiling point in the next year and a half, as Pluto will reach critical degree points in 2022 as it gets to the end of Capricorn to ingress Aquarius in 2023. So relationships that are meant to end will most likely end with Pluto's finishing transition here. But if the relationship is, if a relationship can really last through something like this, it can sort of last through anything. This is also a time where there can be obsessive behavior in regards to romantic situations or love affairs. There can be power struggles with children, with a spouse or a lover. There can be, it can be a period where maybe throughout, the period of 2008, you've been learning how to deal with your children maybe and disciplining. That this has gone through a transformation period. Maybe you started out being too strict and too overbearing and too expecting too much, putting too much pressure on them, almost like dictator type perfectionism, and then having it be really hard on them and it being too much pressure, or the situations you've been going through has been that way. But it's a phase where you've had powerful effects on them. So it is important to sort of let loose on your grip a bit in this area, and maybe you've gone through a huge transformation in regards to that. This can also be an extreme control in how you express yourself, or that maybe you've been through a period where you've been very serious about the things that you do in your free time, and you don't really let go 100%, and you're more focused on value for your time, that you don't want to waste your time on things that you can't, say, learn from, or that have meaning, deeper meaning to it. There can be fateful events in regards to children in a long transit like this with Pluto here. So it's also important to take care of children's health, and making sure that they're safe and so forth, and that their emotional well-being is taken care of as well. and that there's not, dodgy people taking care of them, or that they are in the company of people that could possibly abuse or take advantage of them in some way. There can also be manipulation and power struggles here with children in vice versa situations, also financially. But mostly fun things that you do in your free time will be a lot more meaningful. And this is also a time where you want to look at bone health, teeth health, even with children. And you also want to make sure that you keep your worrying under balance as well. And then Neptune will be in Pisces from 2012 to 2025. And this is your 7th house. And with Neptune in the 7th house, there's a lot of chance of misunderstandings if you're being represented by someone like a lawyer or a counselor or something like that. So you want to make sure that you can really trust the people that work for you or work with you. One-on-one relationships with a spouse or a consultant or partners can be affected. Business partners, there can be fraudulent relations and agreements during this time, and schemes. There can be, this can be a period, this is a long transit, but during this transit there can be periods where one partner can keep things to themselves. They might be a bit more secretive or hide things, or there can be an unrealistic view of the relationship. Maybe things are not going so well and you're pretending that it is. You're putting up a show so that others can think everything is hunky-dory and, you've got the white picket fence life, but meantime, secretly, you're very unfulfilled and feeling very lonely in the relationship. It can also sometimes indicate that you're being too idealistic in your relationship. Like maybe your relationship is just fine, but you are expecting too much from it. You're sort of putting inhumane expectations on a human being and placing your happiness on others' shoulders instead of your own. But there can also be a loss of boundaries with Neptune here and relationships, and in general with Pisces on the 7th house. That is an issue regardless, but I feel with Neptune here that's way more intense, and there can be a blurring of who you are and losing yourself in the relationship, not knowing where you are and who you are and what you want anymore. There can also be huge confusion and indecision in regards to life choices at this point, because this is an angular house that can affect literally every area of your life direction, your home, your relationship, your sense of self, you versus others. All of those things can be affected at this time. In some cases, this can indicate being swindled by your partner, or taking care of someone ill, or someone in need. This is not a great time for new business partnerships, especially if this maybe falls on some important degree point for you. If your relationship is sound, it can be probably just little things like misunderstandings or needing to communicate a bit more clearly with each other. In some cases, this can be really good for romance and fantasies and just sort of spending a lot of leisure time together. Making music or film or taking pictures of each other. But this is not a good time for consultations or lawsuits. It's not great for deals. And because for lawsuits, for example, there can be difficulties in finding details on certain things, because there can be things missing, or there can be a lot of confusion or misunderstandings, or a lot of hidden things with Neptune. So this can also bring more spiritual attunement and connection with relationships. And this is a time where you want to stay realistic and not sweep things under the rug so that they build up, but to really stay in your body. This can be a very emotional time, and it's important to not lose yourself and maybe misuse things like escapism, unhealthy escapism techniques like alcohol and drugs and so forth. And it's important to rather spend time in prayer and to make sure you do some form of body art, like for example, a body, mind, and soul type of martial arts or yoga, or something where you return to the body and grounding yourself, to make yourself aware of your humanness and your foundation, and that you have that you are a person and you have choices and boundaries and you have a say. It's very important to remind yourself of that in regards to relationships, especially with Pisces in the 7th house, and especially with Neptune here. And then you have Uranus in Taurus since 2018 and will be here until 2026, which is your 9th house. And this can increase and expand your knowledge of the world. It can bring insights you never could have had before. It brings an extreme spiritual awareness. It can stir up rigid views of the world. It can really overturn old belief systems, programming, old prejudices, habits, and so forth. You might resist some of these new insights at first and these perspectives, but with time you will be digging, and this is a continual searching energy, and you will keep searching until you understand. And you will most likely also want to share your information with others, but it can sometimes come out in unusual and sudden ways that's not always wonderfully received. But events can point you towards thinking deeper, and there can also be maybe fanatical, extreme beliefs that you could get lost in at this time. So it's important to keep perspective, and realize that you need to stay open and realistic in order to also be able to make adjustments in some of the extreme viewpoints that you may come across. This can also be a transit where you start studying astrology or unconventional topics of some kind. Travel could be a revolutionary thing for you at this time. You're thinking of life and how you want to live life more authentically, and how you want to live life moving forward, and what's really important to you, what do you value, and you're much more, it's more important to be open to learn more here. But this is a very, very growing transit. This can bring huge spiritual insights, dreams, downloads. It's important to avoid legal encounters with Uranus here if possible. There can be unusual or sporadic or uncomfortable relations with the in-laws during this transit. It can also mean unusual experiences abroad. Earthquakes abroad, or earthquakes in your belief systems. This can also affect a father figure or someone in authority, or this can also bring in practical innovation in this area, also in regards to creative, intellectual writing, learning, publishing things online, written things. This can revolutionize a teaching method or a learning method. You can suddenly understand something you never were able to before. And this can bring a lot of unpredictability and volatility in finances, and also possibly property in regards to overseas or foreign connections and people. And a lot of foreign, unusual people can come across you with Uranus transits here. And then Saturn will also be in Aquarius and has been here since December 2020 and will be here till 2023 in your 6th house. And Saturn in your 6th house is usually a critical time of development. And you want to handle this correctly so that by the time Saturn gets to your 7th house, you can bear the good fruit of your hard work during this time. Because this is a time where you work harder, whether it is that you have more responsibilities on a daily level, or more responsibilities at work, or you're just really physically working very hard. But this way, you're putting in the time, and the recognition will come usually more towards the time that Saturn crosses into the 7th house. But responsibilities can feel really heavy at this time, more laborious. Work can be not really a lot of fun at this time. Feel like you're not seeing the fruits of your labor yet. It can be overwhelming, and you can feel defeated with Saturn here. Sometimes it can be really hard to keep up with your employer's demands, or you can feel like you're constantly being blocked and you're just not getting ahead, but it seems that all you're doing is just working and working and working, and there's not enough hours in the day. And or you're very much working by yourself alone, or you're working on something that you can't really share with other people, and so there's nobody there to pat you on the back and say, hey, you're doing a good job, because nobody knows what you're doing, and you're working so hard all by yourself, and there's no recognition, it seems, at this time. But this is important, where you staying faithful in the little things and keeping really hard at it is going to pay off. Absolutely. But your effectiveness as a human being can feel tested during this time. It's very important to keep everything in order at this time for you to have the best impact and to be able to stick to your schedule and get it done during this time. Because there is people depending on you right now. It's important to conserve your energies and work more efficiently and smartly during this time, to not overdo it, otherwise your health can pay. It can be a time where you're preparing to manifest your energy into the outer world. Sometimes this can be an illness that you are experiencing, that's taking longer for you to recover from. Your personal detachment heightens with Saturn here. You become more objective and unemotional, especially around your coworkers or the people you're around with on your daily life, because you're so busy that you almost need to shut your brain off in order to just be able to function. But through your peers, you learn a lot of discipline, and you learn how to really be efficient and use your time management and resources extremely wisely and practical. There's also group acceptance and rejection here. And this is also an area that's been highly affected with the Saturn-Uranus square, your 9th house, and this sixth house has been squaring all year. So there's been a lot of things that you have been working on that has felt hard to get through. And then Jupiter will be in Pisces as we start off the year. And this will be in your 7th house. And then Jupiter will ingress Aries on, around 10th of May in your 8th house. Now Jupiter will retrograde on the 28th of July and make its way back into Pisces on October 28th, where it will station direct in November, and then re-enter Aries on the 20th of December 2022. So it'll be in Pisces approximately 6 months, and then also in Aries for the remainder of the time. Now with Jupiter here in Pisces, your connections with a significant other or business partnerships, and most people can have a time of healing or improvement. There can be a beneficial aspect coming in here, blessings. Your interactions with others is a learning experience and can teach you about yourself and the world around you at this time. You and others are more inclined to helping each other during this time, and if you have trouble of any kind, don't go at it alone now. Get assistance if needed. Get a counselor or a lawyer, but still be careful here because of the Piscean energy here. Lawsuits are mostly favorable with Jupiter here under this transit, but it is important to not overlook little details that could trip you up. It's important to remain fair in all dealings at this time. Everything in moderation will get you there. New interactions or connections of importance could possibly appear with foreign people or a person quite different from you, or maybe in a faraway place, or someone that speaks a different language. Regardless, this is someone or an event that will change your perspectives in some way. And then Jupiter will be in Aries in your 8th house. And with Jupiter here, you could possibly benefit somehow from other people's resources. In some instances, it can be an inheritance or a payout of some kind. This can be a positive transit under which to combine resources with others or to start business partnerships, unless there are other indicators against this. Changes now are deep and transformative, even if they are hard. They are ultimately for your best in the long run. The psychological patterns in your life become more apparent in order for you to heal and transform them. Intimacy and getting to the root and the hidden and the real deal of everything and everyone is very much of a necessity right now, getting to the truth. In some cases, there can be an indication of actually giving birth here, or even giving birth to a new business venture or a new intimate relationship or a new level of vulnerability or opening up or forgiveness of some kind. This is a better time for getting loans approved or getting assistance financially from others as well. And sometimes this can indicate inheritances. It can be powerful and fortunate changes, powerful changes in regards to intimacy as well. understanding of psychological patterns that operate in your life under the surface. So this can be a wonderful healing period altogether. But this is also a time where you can be more accident prone with Jupiter in your 8th house. So you want to be careful also in regards to children, in regards to travel, and just being more mindful and in the moment. And then Mars will start the year off in Sagittarius to ingress Capricorn on the 24th of January. And this will be in your 5th house. And this is a very important house for you this year, the 5th house. This is where Mars, Pluto, and Venus conjunct on the 3rd of March. This is where the Venus retrograde appears. And this is a very intense period and very important destiny points being covered here, as Venus also rules the North Node in Taurus this 18 months starting in January, as well as Mars ruling the South Node of Scorpio. So Mars and Venus playing big positions in the next year, as well as Pluto reaching critical degrees and it being a Pluto return for the USA as well. Now, Mars is exalted in Capricorn and increases your worldly ambitions and your ambition to achieve. It's well organized, it needs regulated action, it gives practical results, it gives a prudish sex drive with Mars here. It can, not necessarily though, it depends on your own chart. But also, this can give pleasure, but also danger in regards to journeys. There can be pleasure through children, travel, for pleasure as well. Then there can be danger in regards to speculation, so you want to be careful with investments. You can be much more expressive and demand to be yourself during this time and demand to be free. This can indicate sexual relations or romantic partners showing up. There can be more difficulty with children or children that are very busy, or you're very busy with children. It can also indicate accidents with children or aggressive children. But this is a good energy for sport, for creative arts, for self-employment, working on your own baby, so to speak. Your desire for love is stronger now, especially for actual physical lovemaking. You can actually use sex as self-expression at this time. There can be a lack of discipline in regards to responsibilities, with you wanting to have more free and playtime rather than working. You can want to focus more on joy and having fun. But this is a time where you are more in the moment, you are more present, and this can be great for channeling your energy appropriately, making time to do active activities with your children, letting go more, and really balancing out your needs versus others' needs, and responsibilities versus freedom and fun. And then Mars will conjunct Pluto on the 3rd of March in your 5th house at 27 degrees of Capricorn, near the 28th degree of Mars's exaltation here. And with Mars conjunct Pluto, we can be tempted to take control of whatever is happening around us. We can be stimulated towards ambition quite intensely. There can be violence and disruptive behavior in this area. So this can obviously be either, your children or you, or just the environment that you're in. There can be a ruthless energy, ego conflicts, power games, Also issues in regards to the government, other people. So it's important to avoid danger and avoid dangerous people and places, also in regards with your children. But this is a great energy for doing heavy amounts of work and getting it done. This can gain power for you in some area of your life, but it can also take you down if you use it selfishly or abuse your power in some way. This can also affect a parent, accident-wise or death-wise, or so forth. Of course, this is not for everyone. There can also be business in regards to death, or something that's ending. Doesn't necessarily need to be a physical death. There can be inheritances, and like I said, higher positions, higher earnings in some self-employment endeavor, or maybe a common property that's being purchased or something like that. And then Mars will be in Aquarius on the 6th of March in your 6th house, and this will also trigger the Saturn-Uranus square that we've had all of 2021 and we will still have in 2022. And this is the past versus the future. This is old versus new, restriction versus freedom, go versus stop. And we've experienced a lot of confusion and disruptive circumstances. And for you, this has very much been in your 9th and 6th houses of travel, foreign affairs, daily schedules, your structures being uprooted, your routines and your health, your health routines, your work life and your responsibilities and worry, and your belief systems, your religious views, your in-laws, your creative intellectual work, and your schedules, truth and legalities in regards to everyday environment and work, a father figure and your health or daily work, your faith and your everyday life and what you do for a living, in-laws, other people's opinions and views about what you do for a living, travel, pets, immigration, all of these types of situations, and then also health, taking care of your health. Now with Mars in Aquarius, there can be a flair for the innovative or innovative flair. This is doing original things, doing things in a unique way, unconventional way. Mars here seeks freedom of action, is more sexually cool, and is more unemotionally here. This can sometimes indicate illness through a journey or difficulty through people, relatives, or siblings. There can be an interest here in studying health or healing or dealing with social, economic issues. But you can be working very hard to get things done during this time. You can be delaying pleasure willingly in order to get things done. If you have nothing to do, this is a time where you want to find work and keep busy. This is a great time to then volunteer and serve others, especially if you're maybe going through an illness and you are having a hard time dealing with it, to maybe work with others that are going through a harder time than you or similar situations in order to also heal yourself while healing and helping others. It's going to be harder for you to work with others during this time because you'll want credit for what you're doing and you don't want to necessarily take orders from others. And you can just be a bit more aggressive and selfish, even unknowingly. This is also a time where you may decide you want to quit or you want to work on your own, or you are not getting what you deserve. So this is a time where it's better for you to work alone if you can. avoid conflict with coworkers. But it can also be a time where you're thinking you're not getting enough credit for what you do. But it can also be the other way around, where you're not giving your employees enough credit for what they do. This is also a time where you want to be more cautious of your health. And because if you are over worrying and overworking, this can manifest physically. You can deal more with fevers, inflammation, muscle injuries, infections. Accidents are more likely to happen with Mars here. Also mechanical issues at work. This is great for a new health routine or for a new schedule or for changing up a new food habit. It's great for talking things out as a physical outlet. You want to work out so that you don't get physically ill. And then Mars will conjunct Saturn on the 4th and 5th of April in your 6th house at 22 degrees of Aquarius. And this can be a difficult transit for some, bringing frustration and irritation. It's good to not do anything risky during this time. You may experience less energy. You may feel that you have anger and you are unable to express it and you need to repress it. So this is important for you to stay physical, working out, talking to others. It's great for working on something that requires heavy concentration. So even though this is a very busy time for you, with Saturn in your 6th house, with Mars coming into this area, you're busy, there's responsibilities, there's things happening. You have to take care of your health. You have to work out. You have to take care of yourself. But you have the gusto to get through this right now. You do have what it takes to really push it. So just keep being faithful with the little things and faithful in much. Now, it's important to stay cautious with machinery, cutting tools, weapons, steel and iron. But this can also be a great breaking point, so to speak, or breakthrough point, with Mars also squaring Uranus here, because there will be a trigger. There will be a rebellious, impulsive need to break free from limiting situations or, relationships that have been restricting you in some way. Or oppressing you in some way. And this can be like sort of the final straw where you want to break this up or change it completely or walk out or start fresh or do it differently. There can be questions as to, can I be myself here? It's important to be cautious of your expressions here because you can meet up with authority. In the case that this may end up something quite intense, you can be easily angered and more aggressive during this time. But this is really where you need to pay attention to how you feel, because this is signaling you to make changes in this area. And if you don't make them, it will be made for you. And then it might be more uncomfortable or painful or it's important to start loosening the grip. Do things in a different way here. It doesn't you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, but you can make changes so that this is a renewed place. Things are fresh. They're done in a different way. Or maybe it is time to end this and start in a new way. It's important to be careful of accidents. And remember that new challenges require new solutions. And then Mars, okay, I did say Mars will be squaring Uranus. Okay, I got to that one. Now, Mars will be in Pisces on the 15th of April in your 7th house, just after Jupiter and Neptune conjuncts on the 12th of April. Now, Mars here can bring a feeling of a little bit more of a lack of motivation and confidence. So, this is a period where you're probably pooped after working quite hard for a long period of time now. But Mars here also functions best under clear direction. And this also goes for you communicating with others. And especially in the 7th house, you want to have more of a quiet, harmonious atmosphere, especially if you want to be productive. This is a more affectionate, romantic energy in Pisces. This can also bring in sometimes partners that are well off, or partner that receives money unexpectedly. There can sometimes be a loss of a partner or an enemy of some kind, or there can be danger here in regards to suicidal incidents, violence, accidents, and even like a type of war, so to say, or opponent, some kind of issue in that sense. Marriage as a result of a journey or separation in marriage. And there can also be indicators here of a robbery while traveling. It sounds very negative, but I basically I mention the things that can pop up with some of these transit. It's not like that for everyone. There's other transits that also need to support that, but I mention it for you in any way in order for you to be as prepared as possible. And then now Mars here can also create tension and arguments in close relationships with a spouse or a business partner. So it's important to use this energy wisely. It can be harder for you to compromise with Mars here. And this is a time for evaluation of relationships and where you might have an imbalance. So it's a good time for getting counseling or working on it, or working on a project together, and maybe working on your teamwork, or putting time in together on something to connect on a deeper level. But it is a good time to weigh responsibilities and compromise, give and take, and modify where needed. Avoid needless arguments. Legal affairs can come up with Mars here. Compromise, be fair. There can also be a final cut here in regards to a relationship that might have just had its enough point. And then Mars will conjunct Saturn on the Mars will conjunct Neptune on the 17th of May at the 24th degree of Pisces in your 7th house. And Mars conjunct Neptune can bring irritability, discouraging feelings, feeling like you're worthless or unable to do something. You can feel more inferior and useless. And even more lonely or lazy. So watch for action based on delusions as well, and being taken for a ride. People noticing your vulnerability at this time. Avoid drugs or alcohol, or losing yourself in unhealthy escapism during this time, because there can be danger with that. Also for your health. Don't start anything new, because it can end up in a disappointment or it getting lost or something like that. There can be confusion and you not knowing how to act with Mars conjunct Neptune. So it's better to wait till this fog has passed. It's great for serving others though, and doing acts of devotion, volunteering, helping in a hospital, as long as your intentions are good. Rest a lot. Don't push it too hard. Your body is signaling with low energy. You've been through a rough time. You've been through a hard amount of time working. So it's time to take a step back and rest up and balance out and find harmony and equilibrium again. This is also important to notice that you might have a lower sex drive during this time, but you will be more romantic and more into connecting on a spiritual level, listening to good music, candlelight, poetry. Maybe you want to do some more glamorous things with your partner during this time. And then Mars will ingress Aries on the 24th of May in your 8th house. And Mars is dignified here, likes direct and immediate action. It's more aggressive, it's more impulsive, it goes after what it wants. It's got more courage and bravery and energy, and it's competitive when in Aries. And it's also got a higher sex drive, it feels more confident. So you're getting a boost here with Mars going into Aries. But it can bring haste, which can lead to accidents and impulsivity and injuries. So be aware of that. There's also a higher chance of not finishing what you start at this time. So if you have a new relationship or a new business partnership, you want to make sure that you are looking at the follow through, or whether this is something that you're not thinking through yet entirely. And then there can also be gain through the deceased with Mars here. There can be psychic events or experiences. There can be intimacy and actual sexual experiences here. More interest and action towards knowledge in regards to the afterlife. And usually you can experience a transformation of some kind, an event or person that has a powerful effect on you with Mars here, or has a power over you. There can be conflicts over shared values or financials or possessions or property or debts or inner values or intimacy. This is a good time to work on issues in regards to shared finances, modifying investments, but there can be arguments on money foolishly spent. So be cautious when investing, when spending. This is not a wonderful time for obtaining loans usually. But there's a stronger need for sexual transformational intimacy and expression. But something here dies to be reborn. And it can even be a part of you that you're done with. It can be also a trigger for finally ending a business partnership or a relationship, having, finally filing for divorce, or this can be the beginning of a much richer, intimate relationship with someone. This can also be the actual act of paying off debt or changing your ways in regards to maybe becoming more vulnerable, being more truthful, really revealing who you are to someone, or really dealing with healing traumatic events in your past, and learning lessons in regards to power struggles and so forth. And then Mars will conjunct Jupiter on the 29th of May at the 3rd degrees of Aries. And this can be wonderful for physical activity and energy and confidence. So things are picking up here now, here at the end of May. But it's important to not be foolishly overconfident, because this can lead to accidents and humiliation. So be cautious when speculating. This can bring about a lucky type of feeling in a sense. This can bring in inheritances in the 8th house, or some kind of assistance or blessing from others, or an increase in pay for possibly a spouse or something like that. And it's also great for muscle building. It can make childbirth easier. But it can also indicate a secret, big secrets, or secret sorrows, or secrets in regards to children, and so forth. And then Mars will also square Pluto retrograde in Capricorn on the 1st of July at 27 degrees of Aries. And now, while Mars is squaring Pluto, there can be more power struggles during this time. You can be very adamant to make headway in this area. You'll have higher energy, but you can also experience more opposition from others, or it can feel that way, which can also sort of force you to take a different course of action or do something in a different way that you originally planned in order to get it done. Loose ends can trip you up during this time, so you want to be cautious of that. Look at the details. You also want to resist cruelty, ruthless energy, being underhanded, taking shortcuts, as this can all lead to destruction in some way. Anything deceptive done to you or by you can pitch up again around January 2023 when Mars enters Cancer. So you want to stick to the rules and do things with integrity and right. This can also sometimes indicate a fight with an opposition, or giving up on something in regards to an opposition, whether it's a group or a person or whatever it is. But avoid dangerous people, situations as much as you can during this time. And then Mars will also be in Taurus in your 9th house on the 5th of July. And Mars in Taurus is slower to initiate because Mars is in detriment here. It boosts practical direction, though. It's determined and it has purposeful action. So Mars here has more focus on financial gain and wants to start something new, most likely. And Mars usually likes to work with money in Taurus, or with earth materials like gardening or growing or self-sustaining or owning their own security, or basic foundational practical things. Mars likes to feel safe and comfortable and likes to know what's coming. Mars here in Taurus will want a more basic sensual sexual experience. It can also indicate long journeys or gain through philosophy, religion, science, publishing, relatives, travel, a marriage and travel connections. A partner can have trouble with relatives with this transit. There can be death in a distant land, or death of a father figure, or injury of a father figure, or danger of drowning, or danger during travels. So this is not a good time to travel with Mars in this house around July. And if you do need to travel, maybe have an astrologer take a look at your chart for you as well. But you can feel more guided towards defending your beliefs with Mars here and wanting to share your views with the world. It's important to not shove your beliefs down other people's throats at this time, but your steps are divinely guided at this time. So you are being guided to learn and grow in certain ways. So stay open to other people's perspectives, and try and drop your prejudices and pre-programmed belief systems and open your mind to what is around you. And there can also sometimes be legal issues or legalization of paperwork, whether it's immigration paperwork or whatever it could be, import, export in regards to Mars here, and so forth. And then Mars will conjunct Uranus in the 9th house, conjunct the North Node on the 1st of August at 18 degrees of Taurus. And this can also indicate a crisis point with this nodal degree. And Mars conjunct Uranus here can bring sudden upsets, disruptive surprises, financial losses or gains, but financial volatility. There can be a change of plans. There's huge energy bursts with this type of connection. There's a breaking free from limitation energy here, a rebellion. Accidents can be self-inflicted with this kind of energy. It's important to avoid driving fast or working with machinery, tools, weapons, especially if angry. This is not a great time for traveling. Create a new project if you need to. This can be wonderful for creativity, for thinking outside of the box, for being inventive, for working out, to channel this energy, because you'll really want to assert your individuality here. You might connect with foreigners or foreign ideas or foreign languages or foreign relations of some kind, unusual experiences, connections, sudden disruptive circumstances, earthquakes, and faraway places, and spiritual breakthroughs, spiritual downloads, visions in regards to where you're going can be taking place at this time. Now let's have a look at the retrogrades for 2022. Now the Mercury retrogrades will be from air to earth signs this year. So we will have Aquarius to Capricorn, Gemini to Taurus, and Libra to Virgo. And all the general Mercury retrograde topics will apply. We're talking mental activity, anxiety, changing your mind, common misunderstandings, issues with transportation and communications. We can have mistakes, lost passwords, loss and damage to electronics, email errors, retesting, redoing, reevaluating, changing your mind, reversals, people from the past coming back, banking errors, card errors, electricity or internet outages, car malfunctioning, mechanical fault issues, wrong numbers, rerouted traffic, more accidents are possible, burst pipes, and so forth. So it's important to not buy any new electronics during this time or sign any contracts and agreements that is not changeable, or book flight tickets that are not changeable or refundable or so. It's better to not start new things, but rather to review things, adjust, work on the details, clean it up, reschedule, work on your routines, prepare while Mercury's retrograde. Now, from the 10th degree of Aquarius, Mercury will retrograde until the 24th degree of Capricorn for 21 days, from January 14th until the 4th of February. And this can include topics such as friends, alliances, groups, politics, co-workers, peoples and organizations. That's true colors will be showing. Your future hopes, goals, and wishes can be affected by this. Markets and supply lines, your social life, freedom and individuality, the collective, radio frequencies, internet, electronics, AI, governmental changes. Property, commitments, hard work, sadness, depression, serious responsibilities, illness, teeth and bones are all topics that can come up with the Aquarius Capricorn Mercury retrograde. Now for you, Virgo Rising, this is in your 5th and 6th houses, and this can affect your health and body. It's going to affect your appearance, your career, your superiors and employer, your life direction, your status, your communication and relationships your parents, your health, your exercise routines, your daily schedules, appointments with doctors, communication with them, medical staff, work, your employees, your immediate work environment, renters, pets, co-workers, responsibilities, stress, worry, stomach issues, accidents, your fun and free time, your sense of freedom, your sense of expression, romantic partners, communication with a partner or children, your children themselves, your self-expression, I think I've mentioned that, speculation, gambling, sport, and common property. So these are all the kind of topics that could go through some Mercury retrograding experience with reversals, changes, unexpected, sudden things not working the way that you want them to. And then we also have Mercury retrograde from the 4th of, from the 10th of May till the 3rd of June for 24 days from 4 degrees of Gemini until the 26th degree of Taurus. And here we will again experience the normal Mercury retrograde topics to occur. And also we can add some brutally honest people, gossip, people poking their noses where they shouldn't, flight delays, schedules, plans being disrupted. It's blessed to plan and rethink things, double check, proofread, use direct communication where possible. There can be more chaos financially across the board for most people. Banking, crises, markets, agriculture, values, skills, how we make money, and so forth can be affected. It's important to stay cautious and rethink your money situation, not having all your eggs in one basket, being flexible if something should not be accessible and you should have other means of being able to trade. And so rethinking investments, staying flexible, being a bendable tree when sudden turnarounds of events or surprises can happen all of a sudden. And this can affect you in your 1st, 10th, and 11th houses. So your sense of self, your expression, how your perspective are in the world, your look, your health, your life direction, your peers, your co-workers, groups and alliances that you belong to, your future goals, your needs versus others. This really affects angular houses for you as well. So this can affect you in quite many ways, especially, of course, also because you are Virgo rising. Mercury is your chart ruler. So you are much more intensely affected by Mercury retrogrades than other signs, you and Gemini rising in particular. And then we also have Mercury retrograding from 8 degrees of Libra until the 24th degree of Virgo, from September 10th until the 2nd of October for 22 days. And now everything ruled by Libra and Virgo can go kind of off balance, such as grace, charm, diplomacy, collaborations, one-on-one love and business relationships, contracts and agreements, law issues, truth, fairness, compromise, peace and harmony, equilibrium, can be off balance. And this is a time where you may be rethinking your looks, your relationships, your style, your financials, if there's balance in your relationships, if there's manipulation, where does there need to be some modification taking place, and issues in regards to COVID, public health issues, employment, our work, our schedules, our mental health, how we work, whether we work online or not, how we shop and trade, and so forth can be affected by this. And for you, this is again your 1st and 10th houses, as well as your 2nd house of work and income and skills and values, your self-confidence, your self-worth, your committed relationships are being affected in this case. And then we will also have a Venus retrograde from the 19th of December till the 29th of January 2022. So we start the year with it. This is a very important Venus retrograde in your 5th house, as Mars, Pluto, and Venus will also connect here. And 23 degrees of Capricorn is the degree where Venus will retrograde until the 11th degree for 28 days of retrograde, not including the shadow periods. Now, when Venus retrogrades, there's actually a lot of deep issues going on here, but I'm just going to talk about the general Venus retrograde energy because there's just not enough time to go into all the energies connected to Pluto as well as Mars, etc. But when Venus retrogrades, we have issues of love, money, investments, beauty, pleasure, values, self-worth, sweet things, comfort coming in for review. Relationships, business partnerships, unexpected expenses, returning expensive items, laziness, comfort. We can also come across more news articles on expensive art or sophisticated women in business or politics. We can be smart to not start new relationships during Venus retrograde, or if you do, don't take it to a serious level of marriage or engagement during this time because it could change again. So wait till Venus is out of shadow. And this can be a great time for you to add more flair in your marketing ideas. Not making new investments or making big purchases or beauty procedures. No. Wait. And this is also where you're going to probably be rethinking your balancing in relationships. What is this going to last? Venus here knows what she wants, and she wants to be okay, and she wants to be secure in her relationship with money and love. And Venus in Capricorn can bring up topics such as slow love, less emotional love, love for money, money for love, business marriages, mercenary intentions, old money, age differences in love, love separated, mature love, love occupied, unavailable love, restricted love, forbidden, love at work. It can bring up decorating areas, restructuring or redecorating your office or your workplace, or your maturing your office suit. This can bring up jealousy, manipulation, obsession, power struggles, and possessiveness. It can also bring a reality check in regards to love and money. It can be a good energy for taking relationships to the next level with Venus in Capricorn, but not during a retrograde. Okay, this is for when you're rethinking this and checking the balancing scales. This can also be a period where you're mourning love that's gone. But overall, this is a time where you are really resetting the scales in regards to love, money, values, and all of those, and how we also earn our money. And with Venus here, there can be a laziness in love or a lack of generosity. There can be lazy children. This can be that in some cases that you feel like you can't meet anyone nice, or old lovers show up in your life, or old issues in regards to lovers, or maybe old financial issues, or self-worth issues. There can be money wasted with Venus retrograde in this area, gambling losses, a creative block of some kind, self-employment cannot be going as planned. It's important to not get engaged or take any relationship to a serious level during this time. And then Mars will retrograde from the 30th of October until the 12th of January 2023 for 63 days, from 25 degrees of Gemini to 8 degrees of Gemini. And this will happen also while Mercury is in mutual reception with Mars in Scorpio. So your Scorpio and Gemini houses will kind of work kind of together in some way. And Mars is our willpower. It's our passion, our drive, our let's do this planet. And when it's retrograde here, we can be less assertive, or it can be more difficult for us to go for what we want, or we can feel our energy levels are a bit more low or affected by this. So it can be best to complete and finish already started projects instead of starting new projects. You can maybe now be aware of your ideas for new projects and work on planning them and strategizing them and working them out on paper before you actually start doing it or starting it officially. It's important to channel your anger and frustration here, because there can be mental frustration as well. Exercise, work on building a website or getting your admin out of the way, or strategizing, making lists, writing things down, repairing things, redoing things, going over the details, renovating, and so forth. You can have more verbal arguments or debates with Mars here. Your mental and physical movement is busy. You're busier in your environment. There can be connections to the media and information here, as well as very similar energy to a Mercury retrograde with Mars here, also with vehicles and machinery and internet connections and things like that. Be very aware also, yes, with communication in regards to your career and so forth as well. Shoplifting and theft can be something we see more of during this as well. And we might have more blockages with Mars here, and we might feel like we cannot get as much done as we would normally like to. But Mars can be helpful in slowing us down to reflect on our desires and to rethink and analyze why we are feeling frustrated and why we're feeling upset, and giving us an opportunity to kind of get to the core of it. It's maybe a time where we might be rethinking our driving, our neighborhood, where we live, our relatives. There's a more higher chance for a sharp tongue, being very busy or impulsive, being more accident and injury prone, especially in things that Gemini and Mars rules. So you can be in more danger of pulling a muscle or getting an asthma attack or inflammation or anxiety, or your lungs can be more sensitive, joint displacements or dislocations, arms and hands getting cut. There can be changes in relationships and communications. Your mind can be more fragile and sharp. You can get in trouble with your tongue or even making jokes, so be careful, because fighting or fight with words can be coming up at this time. Freedom of speech and movement, erotic fantasies and dirty talk. We can be more curious. We can be more active in our neighborhood, or we can just see more action in our neighborhood. We can see car explosions, transportation issues, more arguments, cities in chaos, and more fights in regards to opinions and beliefs. And this is in your 10th house. So this can bring conflicts in regards to career or authority figures. You can be frustrated with a lack of progress. There can be conflicts with parents, bosses, co-workers. You can maybe be pushing too hard to succeed. So it's important to also separate your identity from your success. And it can also mean that you're very hard on yourself. It can be a period where you are questioning your direction, and that you are doing more research during this time. And then this area can also work in some kind of connection to your third house of communications, siblings, neighborhoods, relatives, internet, online work, communication, your mind, your beliefs and opinions, and your purchasing, trading, and so forth. And then Jupiter will retrograde from the 28th of July till the 23rd of November for 118 days, from 8 degrees of Aries until the 28th degree of Pisces. And Jupiter in Aries can bring up new leadership in some cases, and bring up things for review, such as things we would like to start or take further or expand and grow. We can be more overconfident or over-optimistic with Jupiter in Aries, more arrogant, more selfish, more accident-prone, promise things that we don't deliver. We can make big mistakes, but also big growth spurts can be attained here, and a lot can be attained and gained. So this depends uniquely on all of our own charts as well, and how we channel this energy. Liver issues can happen, so be careful with escapism, unhealthy habits, self-sabotage. So your intake is very important. What spiritual lessons are you learning during this time? Where can you be less about yourself and more about others? This is a time for us to create our own opportunities and create our own luck. Our opportunities will present themselves even through things that might seem as non-opportunities. Watch impulsiveness and anger flare-ups with Jupiter here, mechanical issues, fire issues. What is happening that you need to learn from, or who? Or are you that for someone else? What is your truth? What, this is about your personal growth. So this is a time for you to go within. And then we can also be reviewing in Pisces our visions, our ideals, our beliefs. We're more compassionate. There's more of an emphasis on the meaning of life during this time, and our innermost authentic selves, our deeper values, morals, integrity, our beliefs. We turn more spiritually inwards. We're more connected to each other and aware of our similarities and our connectedness to each other and the universe and to a higher consciousness. And we want to unite more in unity here. We can also see more celebrity and new music and new sort of posh movies and things about glamour and so forth. And Jupiter will be retrograding for you in your 8th and 7th houses. And therefore, you can be experiencing maybe fear of emotional intimacy during this time. So it's important for you to open up and allow yourself to show your fears and your darkness, and allow others to see the real you and love you anyway, and work on your trust issues and to seek counseling or forgiveness. And this is also a time where you can financially get a turnaround in some way, or there can be gains or losses financially, or in regards to your spouse, or investments or business partnerships or shared resources. in this area. There can also be inheritances or a death in the family, or a powerful death that affects you at this time. A death of also a part of you, not necessarily a person or something that's ending here. And then you can also meet connections of true soulmate sorts, instant connections if you meet new people, karmic links to new connections now, someone that you maybe dislike at first and then like later on. It's important to not judge people too quickly during this time. And then Saturn, let me just have a look here. Yes, Saturn will also retrograde from the 4th of June till the 23rd of October, from 25 degrees Aquarius to 18 degrees Aquarius for 141 days. And we review committed and serious relationships, our reality, our life goals, our direction, our responsibilities, our duties, rebalancing, reviewing, restructuring. How do we manifest our reality? And Saturn reminds us of the aspects of life we cannot avoid, like rules, responsibilities, length of life, our skin tone, our skin color, our taxes, our restrictions, our commitments, our physical limitations, our time itself. And usually the areas that it affects require restructuring or experience delays or blockages or frustrations or a lack of some kind, or a really hard time, hard challenges, endings, separations, serious topics, bitterness, weight, issues with minerals, and bones and teeth. Now, during this retrograde, this is a time for restructuring your daily schedules, your daily work routines, environment, planning things. An old friend could possibly come into your life, or memories of a friend. You might feel as if you're not getting as much progress done at work as you'd like. It's important to stay humble during this time. And this is taking place in your 6th house. It's good to get the basics under the knee right now, fill in the cracks at the foundation, and then refine and polish, and take your time. Use it wisely, and really just go over the basics and the nitty-gritty, and the basics of your health, the basics of your mineral building, your iron, your calcium, your magnesium, eating celery, these types of things. And then the nodal axis, which guides our moon's ecliptic path and determines the eclipse placements, moves into a fixed sign polarity on the 19th of January 2022 until, for the next 18 months, with the north node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio. And as we know, with eclipses, there is a longer effect, usually 6 months. This can also be longer or shorter depending on the cycles and all the other planetary things interacting with it. But this is a fated times, fated events. The veil is thin. Now, every 18 years, we have these eclipses at these same points. So the last time that this eclipse were at this, with this placement, was in 2004, where you would have experienced something in the same area. And there's usually fated turnarounds, sudden different directions taking place in your life. Truths are revealed, transformations, sudden revelations. But with the energy of Taurus and Scorpio, we are going into a more stubborn, extreme, fixed energy. It's more of an all or nothing stubborn and determined energy. We're letting go of old toxic relationships, toxic health habits, toxicity period in all levels. We're becoming survivors. We are looking into the truth and the deep layers of things. We are investigating things. We're getting to the core. We're becoming more minimalistic, and we're more concerned about where our food comes from and having purity in our everyday lives and living with a purpose and getting back to basics, securing our own futures, securing our own security. What skills do you have? What can you do with your hands? What can we touch? What is being absorbed through our skin? We're dealing with boundaries and freedom here. We're dealing with the necessary and the unnecessary. Where can we simplify? Where can we be more manageable? Where do we need to let go and reuse and recycle? Where do we need to minimize and detox? What do you really need? What is really valuable to you? What do you really want to teach your children? Where can you declutter and release unnecessary structures from your life? Where can you become less detached and less obsessive, compulsive, less controlling, less, mine and yours are coming up for review. Obsession and power, manipulation, bullying, stubbornness, agriculture topics, land inequality, fairness, wounding from the past, sexual secrets and scandals, and child trafficking and abuse of power and sex trafficking and new currencies, new financial systems, financial crisis, online financial connectivity, also connections to medicine, food, communities, sharing. We are sharing now. We need to share with each other our skills, our knowledge, our community. It's important to live fully now and give it your all, and to let go of fear and to get brave and live with determined, purposeful action. Now, with the nodes shifting into these fixed signs, this is a financial axis, so we will be seeing huge switches in the world financially, and in regards to power and control. You can also check out my general astrology potentials for 2022, where I talk a little bit more about what we can expect going forward in a general sense. And we will be also seeing Uranus conjuncting the North Node and at 18 degrees, like I've said before. And this is also a time where we can have events occur in regards to our partner, especially if this is your second marriage or foreign affairs, or in regards to sudden downloads in a spiritual way, sudden breakthroughs or connections in regards to foreign affairs or higher education. There can be successful outcomes in law or legal issues. There can be a need to let go of leaving something behind in an old neighborhood, or some old mindsets or beliefs or communications of some kind. It can be some kind of mental breakthrough, wanting a fresh start, and so forth. But with the eclipses in this axis, we will have a solar eclipse in Taurus in your 9th house on the 30th of April. And this will be a beginning or a new seed of intention, or some kind of new leaf being turned in the area of your 9th house. So this can be maybe a new home overseas, maybe a new beginning, maybe there's finally a breakthrough with immigration paperwork or relocation paperwork. Maybe you are starting a new course of study. Your belief systems are changing. Maybe your dreams are becoming a reality in some ways. Maybe you're completing a move. Maybe you are gaining trust in God and have new visions for your future moving forward. This can also be a new beginning or a new connection in regards to your father and a faraway place, or your father and belief systems in general. This can be you starting to speak about what you believe, or to publish something that you've been writing or working on, creative intellectual work that maybe is now ready that you're ready to begin, or ready to teach, or ready to make public and disseminate. And then you will have on the 16th of May a lunar eclipse in Scorpio in your 3rd house. And this can be an ending of some kind of maybe a short course. This can be the ending of maybe living in a certain neighborhood, or buying from a certain store, or certain relationships connected to, or certain way of communication and connection to relatives, siblings, neighbors. This can be finishing a short course, or maybe finalizing some kind of purchase of some kind, or some kind of class or training or online course that you are finishing up. And then we have a solar eclipse on, and because with the lunar eclipse you are culminating something, right? Like something's coming to a fruition here, or a culmination, or to like a point of finishing up, or getting ready to be sort of released. And then on the 25th of October, there's a solar eclipse in that same Scorpio 3rd house, where you have a new beginning again, a new leaf being turned over. Maybe you're getting a new car. Maybe you are starting a new commute to work. You've decided to drive a different route because you're tired of that same old route. Maybe you are changing what you buy, where you shop, your neighborhood, changing your friends, turning a new leaf in regards to a relationship with a sibling. You're making a new decision on something here. And then you will also have a lunar eclipse in the 9th house again of Taurus on the 8th of November, and that is a culmination or an ending. So this can be the ending of a second marriage. This can be some kind of fruition or ending in regards to a father figure, a belief system, some kind of foreign expedition, foreign affairs, property, studying, creative intellectual work, publishing. Maybe you finally published the book, or you're finally done writing it, or you are done your degree, and you're now ready to go into the workforce, or something like that. Or maybe you finally received your residency somewhere, and you can now finally live permanently somewhere in a beautiful paradise. Well, Virgo Rising, thank you for allowing me to guide you through the astrology potentials of 2022. You are really changing the way you express your truth and your authenticity, and the way you express yourself. You are moving places and partners, and you are changing the way you set boundaries, and where you allow yourself to be free, and how you have fun and release and let go. It's very important for you to allow yourself to work less, and to work smarter in order for you to free more time, for you to have more fun, to have some release, and to be your authentic self, and to not get lost in relationships and lose yourself at times in work and so forth. You can do this, Virgo. You can do this. Make sure you balance things out this year, and remember that things are not happening against you, but they're happening for your best interest, for your highest growth and development consciously. And may God bless you and keep you. Also check out my general astrology potentials for 2022 video that I will also have out. And may the sun shine bright on you this day and this year going forward. Until next time.